My first meeting with Babaji took place in my 33-year, Lahiri Mahasaya had said. In the autumn of 1861, I was stationed in Danapur as a government accountant in the military engineering department. One morning the office manager summoned me. Lahiri, he said, a telegram has just come from our main office. You are to be transferred to Ranikhet, where an army post is now being established. With one servant, I set out on the 500-mile trip. Traveling by horse and buggy, we arrived in 30 days at the Himalayan site of Ranikhet. My office duties were not onerous. I was able to spend many hours roaming in the magnificent hills. A rumor reached me that great saints blessed the region with their presence. I felt a strong desire to see them. During a ramble one early afternoon, I was astounded to hear a distant voice calling my name. I continued my vigorous upward climb on Dronagiri mountain. A slight uneasiness beset me at the thought that I might not be able to retrace my steps before darkness had descended over the jungle. I finally reached a small clearing whose sides were dotted with caves. On one of the rocky ledges stood a smiling young man, extending his hand in welcome. I noticed with astonishment that, except for his copper-colored hair, he bore a remarkable resemblance to myself. Lahiri, you have come. The saint addressed me affectionately in Hindi. Rest here in this cave. It was I who called you. I entered a neat little grotto which contained several woolen blankets and a few kamandulas, begging balms. Lahiri, do you remember that seat? The yogi pointed to a folded blanket in one corner. No, sir. Somewhat dazed at the strangeness of my adventure, I added, I must leave now, before nightfall. I have business in the morning at my office. The mysterious saint replied in English, the office was brought for you, and not you for the office. I was dumbfounded that this forest ascetic should not only speak English but also paraphrase the words of Christ. I see my telegram took effect. The yogi's remark was incomprehensible to me. I inquired his meaning. I remember. My voice was half choked with joyous sobs. You are my Guru Babaji, who has belonged to me always. Scenes of the past arise vividly in my mind. Here in this cave I spent many years of my last incarnation. As ineffable recollections overwhelmed me, I tearfully embraced my master's feet. My Guru, what can I say? I murmured brokenly. Where has one ever heard of such deathless love? I gazed long and ecstatically on my eternal treasure, my Guru in life and death. Lahiri, you need purification. Drink the oil in this bowl and lie down by the river. Babaji's practical wisdom, I reflected with a quick, reminiscent smile, was ever to the fore. I obeyed his directions. Though the icy Himalayan night was descending, a comforting warmth, an inner radiation, began to pulsate in every cell of my body. I marvel. Was the unknown oil endued with a cosmical heat?
Somebody said something about Babaji way back. Now everybody started talking about him, they started making movies about him, everybody started seeing him everywhere. The reason why I always refrain from speaking of anything that is not yet in people's experience is, there have been many yogis in the past who still are in some ways. They retain the subtlest part of their body intact and just let it be. Whenever they feel it's necessary, they are capable of recreating their old bodies. This is called as nirmanakayas. Such people are known as nirmanakayas who recreate their own body. Gautama, the Buddha, is supposed to be one of the nirmanakayas. There are many others who recreate their own body as it was then, a youthful body as they liked it. Maybe this is 100 years later, 1000 years later, whatever number of years, because number of years is not at all the issue. What you call as time is, for this body, one kind of time, for another body, another kind of time, isn't it? See, for your body, 10 years means this much, 20 years means that much, 30 years means this much, 70 years means that much, it's like this. So, you will… just a moment later he came back, but you think he came back 500 years later. In his experience, he just turned around and came back. But in your experience, it's 500 years later.